Do you ever lose it when your kids pull on your hair, throw some food on the ground, and you're like, why am I so triggered? What's wrong with me? And also, what's wrong with them? Today we're gonna get real on why those moments hit hard, how tackling those triggers can transform your motherhood journey, and I'm also gonna give you very simple but practical ways to address those triggers and calm some of the chaos in your life. My name is Manon. I'm a life coach for women using Ayurveda, trauma healing, and embodied spirituality. And I help women, and especially mothers, cultivate self-love and rituals to feel more nurtured and radiant in their life. So if that's you, hit subscribe and hang with us. I hear you. I'm a mom. I get triggered every single day for a reason or another. I always wonder what's wrong with me, what's wrong with her. But I'm lucky that my job and my self-exploration has guided me through all those trigger explorations so that they don't hit so hard on me, and I can actually use them to transform, to grow, and to deepen my connection and my relationship with my daughter. So first, why do we get triggered so much by our kids? It is such a common thing for mothers, parents in general, to get triggered by their children. The first thing is it reflects our first relationships and their patterns. So when you had your first kid, you probably felt like, I'm the mother now, I'm the parent. It's on me to do the right thing. It's on me to change things because you've been raised in a certain way. Maybe you've been hurt by how you've been raised and you want to change that. But then parenthood hits and you're like, what am I doing? How am I going to do this? So when we become parents, we can meet our deepest patterns relationship-wise and our deepest wounds as well, which can be both beautiful because we also have the beautiful positive patterns and also painful because of all the negative ones that are brought to the surface. So it also shows our deep past traumas, and traumas with a little or a big T, whatever, it's all traumas. It's an unhealed wound somewhere in your emotional body that still affects your life today. So when we have kids, they're such a pure mirror of our psyche that they are going to point to us unconsciously, not willing, just by being, what we have to work on, what we have to address in ourselves. This doesn't mean that they're not their own individuals. They are pure, different, their own self. They're not just a copy of us. What I mean by this is their ego is not yet developed. So they don't have a sense of me and you. So most of us, when we interact with them, we can feel this reflection that they send back to us. And that's another reason we get triggered, actually, because we know that they're not doing this with an intention to hurt us. They're just being themselves, and we cannot blame them back. We cannot hurt them back, I want to say, because if someone is triggering us, we might sometimes feel like they're coming after us, that they're intentionally hurting us. But when it's a kid, we cannot just be like, okay, I'm just going to throw the ball back to you, because we love them, we want to take care of them, and we don't want them to suffer. So it's like we get the ball in our hands and we have to address it. And it's uncomfortable, to be honest. We cannot just throw the ball somewhere else and forget about it. We try sometimes, and that's not something I recommend because it would either fall back onto your kids or onto your partner or onto your friends or your family. So ultimately, you get the ball, you address it. Another reason why our kids can be very triggering for us is if we haven't been allowed to be a child. What I mean by this is many of us were raised in maybe more traditional upbringings, and those traditional upbringings would put the child in a certain box. We're not allowed to make too much noise, we're not allowed to make too much mess, we're not allowed to scream and chant and dance and jump. Once we have kids, we don't want to repeat that. We want them to be able to explore and to express themselves, but it can be super triggering for us who haven't been able to when we were their age. Notice that in yourself, that what is triggering for you in your child. Is it a behavior that you are not allowed to embody as a child yourself? And how can you regain ownership on that behavior? Maybe on just doing it more yourself, but most of the time just allowing our kids to do it in a very healthy way and just express themselves can be very healing for us as well. Another reason that we get triggered by our kids is that we are under a lot of pressure to do things right as parents, especially nowadays where we have tons of books, tons of podcasts, tons of YouTube videos like this one telling us what to do, what not to do. And it can be very easy to just take on the load and take on the load and take on more pressure, to then being like a volcano where something just pinches us and we just explode. So it's important to realize that when you get very triggered often and it's repeated and it's almost every day, you may be under too much pressure, which is not conducive to raising your kids in a healthy way, and it's not conducive to your health. Please, mama, remember that your well-being is so crucial for your family's well-being. So if you feel crushed by pressure, it is time to elevate some of it, keep what is actually yours and give away the rest, and ask for support. And of course, you know, especially as a postpartum mom, we are tired. We are sometimes depleted. We just went through a major transition from 0 children to 1 child, to from 1 child to 2. So this transition time is very vulnerable. In Ayurveda, we say that any transition is like walking from one platform to another. There's this in-between space where we're like, I don't know if we're gonna make it to the other platform, and I'm not sure if this one is safe enough and if it's stable enough. So I'm still 1 foot on this one. So it's a very vulnerable time because of the depletion as well, especially if we don't eat enough, if we don't sleep enough, if we don't get support enough. So this is a time of vulnerability that exposes our wounds a lot more, and we get triggered a lot more. But why is it so important to address them? Because we could decide, well, as parents, we're going to be triggered, that's it. That's how it is. You just go through it and hopefully make it on the other side. Well, you can, but it's going to be much more pleasurable and much more easeful to address your triggers and actually set yourself and your kids up for success. Because whatever you do on yourself, whatever growth, whatever learning you do with yourself, is going to serve your kids. They're going to learn from you. And this is a point we're going to address a little later. But first off, remember that it stops with you. If you get triggered, it usually means that a pattern, and usually a negative pattern, has been applied on you as a kid. And now that you see your child repeating that, it can't stop with you. And by this I mean, if you just copy your parents in your reaction, and if you don't address the trigger, you are not in control of your reaction. You're not going to be able to address your child and to connect with your child in a deep, authentic, vulnerable way. And usually you're going to use the same pattern that your parents used with you, and it's unconscious. It's not something you decide. It's just that the trigger puts us in a state of fight, flight, freeze, and we don't make rational decisions according to what we know is good for our kids or for ourselves. It's really important to remember that, because then your priority is going to be to get out of that state, to get out of that freeze, of that fight, of that flight, so that you can regain awareness and clarity around what happened and how to respond to it. Otherwise, it's just gonna wound the child the same way you've been wounded and the same way your parents have been wounded, etc., etc. So we're just gonna transfer our wounds to our kids without giving it a chance to heal and to transform. It's important to address your trigger as well, because a trigger is an invitation to pay attention. It's like removing an old bandage to reveal an old wound. It's not pleasant. Usually if you forgot about the wound, it's not in a very good shape. You're gonna look at it and be like, gross. And your trigger is gonna bring up this feeling in you. No, I don't like this. Let's put something back on it. My invitation instead of this is to actually use the trigger to heal the wounds that are ready to be healed. Because you don't need to be searching for your patterns, you don't need to be forcefully healing yourself. You just follow the flow of your emotions, and they're going to guide you where healing is necessary and is appropriate, because sometimes we don't have the tools, we don't have the availability to heal those wounds, and that's totally fine. There will come another opportunity for us. But remember that any trigger is an invitation to pay attention to something. Another reason why addressing your trigger is so important is that it's a major source of growth and healing. As I said, it's a major indicator of where you need to pay your attention. So I'm not going to repeat myself here, but remember that growth is painful. Growth requires to be uncomfortable, and our triggers are guiding us through that growth process. But ultimately, it makes motherhood much more pleasurable, because a wound not addressed is just going to get rewounded and rewounded and rewounded. So the trigger is going to come back and back and back, and it might increase in intensity. So remember that if you address the trigger when it's small, it's not going to grow as big later in life, because you didn't give it a chance to get worse, like a simple physical wound. If you don't address it, you don't clean it, you don't cover it, you don't protect it, it's just going to get worse. And your triggers, your emotional wounds are exactly the same. Another reason why addressing your wounds and your triggers is so important is that it helps you to get to know yourself so much better and deeper, and especially your needs. Any emotion, especially the uncomfortable ones, are here to reveal to us that there's a need that isn't addressed, that isn't fulfilled, that isn't responded to. So when triggers arise in our life, it's actually a need that wants to be revealed. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to actually question it. Question, what is the need that is not fulfilled right now? It can be a need for time, a need for rest, a need for respect, a need for attention, a need for nurturing, a need for community. Question it, and you're going to find the need that is under the trigger. And something that we don't realize as parents enough, I think, in our society is if you address your trigger, it's going to foster a healthy relationship with your kid, but it's also going to teach your kid how to have healthy relationships. Because then your kid is going to know what is mine, what is my mom's, what is my dad's is my dad. Your kid is not going to take responsibility for your wounds, which is very important, because then it's going to mean that when their child is going to develop another close relationship, they're going to know where to set boundaries. They're going to know where to take responsibility for what they did or said. And they're also going to know when to leave this responsibility to the other person. So all of this is nice, and we all know now how important it is to address those triggers. But what do we do about it? What do we do? First, breathe. Motherhood requires a lot from us. Parenthood requires a lot from us. Don't force it, and take the time your nervous system needs to adjust. Because you cannot force healing. You cannot force feeling a certain way. And that's something that is easy to kind of turn to when we start this healing journey. We're like, oh, I've got this trigger, I've got to heal this right now. Oh, I've got this other trigger, I've got to heal this right now. And we have so much expectation on ourselves that it just increases the problem. It puts more pressure on us, and more pressure means more easily triggered. So first, breathe, take some time, and adjust to what your nervous system is able to address at that time. Second, top prioritize nervous system care. It can look so different from a mom to another, but ultimately you're going to have the 3 pillars that we talk about in Ayurveda, which is sleep, food, and how you move and how you use your energy. So maybe nervous system care for you is going to look like a massage. Maybe it's going to look like a bath. Maybe it's going to look like more time with your partner, quality time. Maybe it's going to look like breathing. Maybe it's going to look like being in nature or prioritizing sleep. But be very aware of what is actually nurturing your nervous system the most and prioritize those. I know for myself, if I don't prioritize sleep or rest, it's a first step on the road to failure. I don't do well without sleep. So pick 3 practices that deeply nourish your mind, that deeply calms you down, and that deeply cultivate a sense of self in yourself. Whatever that is for you, focus on those 3 tops. 3 maximum, because you cannot do more. It's not useful to do more at that stage. 3, and then focus on those if you can every single day. And this will do wonders on your nervous system. Another advice that you may think, why are you saying this, Manu? That goes against what you just said before, is reduce the chance of being triggered. So what I mean is, don't put your responsibility to address your triggers outside of yourself and try to remove all triggers of this planet. It's not possible, and it's not going to help you feel more resilient. The point here is there are some things in your life that can be changed so that they don't trigger you as much. And by this I mean you have power to change them. Sometimes the trigger is about our powerlessness to change what is triggering us. Many times we feel that sense of powerlessness because it has been the case way back in time in your life. But today, you may be able to change it. You may be able to make a different decision for yourself, for your kiddos, for your family that help you feel less triggered. It might be being less busy, having less activities, having a better organized space, having less toys, for example, no very loud toys. That can be another decision you can make. As an example, pulling hair can be very triggering for moms. I know it has been for me, and it's still sometimes when I'm tired. So I know some moms who cut their hair very short or always put their hair up once they become mothers. That is totally legit. If this helps you on a daily basis because it's more practical, because your child cannot pull on your hair, please do it. Don't let your hair down, and if you know that this could help you tremendously. That's what I mean by this. Like, I love to wear earrings, and I have no issue with my daughter pulling on it, playing with it, until a certain point, of course. So this is not a trigger for me. But for so many moms, it is. So don't wear earrings. Don't wear necklaces. Those can be changed. Just reminding you that you have some power over this. The next one is so important. Express that you feel triggered to your spouse, to your kids, to your friends, to other moms, to feel seen in it and making it a reality. Because sometimes when we are stuck in the trigger, we're like, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with them? Why is this happening? Why am I doing this? Is this motherhood? Well, I don't really know if I'm built for this. Talking about it can be so healing. And maybe your spouse is not in a position to hear you in this, and this is totally legit. They're tired too, they're triggered too. But maybe other mamas are. Maybe your kids can hear, well, listen, mama is really sensitive to noise right now, and this toy is making me very painful inside. So just explaining to them what's going on so that they don't interpret it as mom doesn't love me, mom doesn't want me around, I'm too much for mom. Taking, again, ownership of that trigger and express it fully. And you don't have to go into details when you're with your kids, for example. You may have to adapt to their age and to what they are able to understand. But as an example, my daughter is not even 2, and I still talk to her about how I feel and why I've been mad or why I've been sad or tired. And I just tell her what happened in me. And I remind her that it's not about her, that it's something that I have to deal with, so that she doesn't take responsibility for that trigger. Another major one is to investigate the trigger. By this I mean, investigate, how do I feel? What are the thoughts that are popping into my mind? What are the sensations in my body right now? What is the belief that is behind this trigger? Why is this trigger so painful to me? This investigation is going to lead you to the need that is hidden behind the trigger. It's going to lead you to the root pattern that has been ingrained in you so far back that now it's time to pull it out. And that takes practice. At first, you may not know how you feel, you may not know what it's going to lead to, but if you could take just one step towards it and another step towards it, you're going to feel more and more connected to your needs and to your deep emotions. Follow the emotion, follow the thoughts. You can use journaling as well. I love to do this when I have so many thoughts in my mind that are coming up and I'm like, I'm not allowed to say that. This is totally inappropriate. This is not good to say. Write it down and it's going to lead you to the root cause. So for example, your journal might look like, why is this happening? Why are they always doing this? Are they really against me? Why is their problem? What is my problem? Why am I so reactive? Am I just a bad mom? Is that what it is? It's gonna look like this. And then once you're gonna continue writing, continue, it's gonna lead you to the root cause. And usually you know that it's the root cause because you melt. For example, if you were feeling frustrated and irritated, you know you've reached the root when you'll start crying and you start feeling seen and held by it because you now have seen yourself. And don't forget that you can get support by your partner, by friends that are able to hold you in this. But if it's not the case, get professional support to address the emotional wound or trauma. There's a lot you can do on your own, there's a lot your friends, your partner can do for you, but ultimately with those type of wounds and trauma, especially when it's big T trauma, you want some professional support, whether from a trauma coach or from a therapist or a doctor, any professional who works with trauma and works with emotional body will be very, very helpful for you to be contained and held in that healing process, because it's really hard to be the container and the contained to heal. It's totally okay as well to take a moment to recenter. Of course, you're going to have to adapt this to the child, to their age specifically. You don't want to be like, okay, I'm out, see you in an hour. If it's a 3-year-old in front of you, you don't want to do this. But you may be able to stay in the same room with your child, but still recenter yourself for a few minutes. Give yourself the attention you need at that moment, because the trigger can be really painful again. And ideally, ask for help to take a moment. So if someone else can be with your child at that time, that's ideal, because then you can take a time really out. But even if you don't have anybody around, just create your own bubble by still being aware of where your kid is and what they're doing, of course. But take this moment of recentering to, again, get out of this fight, flight, freeze mode that is going to make you respond and react in a harsh or not constructive way. And then, after you've done this, very important, recreate contact with your child and express things without the emotional overload. So when you are in the trigger, you're not going to be able to express things constructively to your child. They're not going to understand. You're just going to most likely hurt them and hurt yourself in the process. The point of creating the bubble and the recentering moment is to get out of that state, to then being able to reconnect with your child and address what just happened inside of yourself. You can of course tell them, listen, when you do this or when you say this, this is what happens in me. Again, you're going to adapt this to their age, what they're able to understand. But I tend to preach to just express things as they are, even if they don't understand it fully. That's totally all right. The point is to make sure that they know it's not them. It's not their responsibility to not hurt you, because they're just acting, they're just doing. Of course, when they get older, especially after 7 years old, they have the ability to reason, to logically think about their behaviors and what they said, and it's important to address that, of course. But here I'm talking more about your part of the responsibility from this interaction. But it's really important, after you've taken this time for yourself, to go back to your child, to recreate connection with touch, with looking at them in the eye, with smiling to them, by talking to them. Make sure to repair the relationship or any rupture that may have happened during the trigger, because it's easy to happen. I've noticed this many times with my child. When I get triggered, I take maybe a minute to recenter and to not interact with her while still making sure that she's safe, of course. And she would instantly, intuitively do her own thing. She would start playing with something, and she kind of gives me space. And as soon as I'm recentered, I'm going back to her, I'm touching her, I'm looking at her in the eyes, I sing to her, I smile to her, and I can see her face open and being like, oh, mom is back, oh great. It's so important for their nervous system, because they need to know that they're connected to you and that the relationship is still safe. So you can reconnect to your child in many different ways. As I said, it can be through touch, through looking at them in the eyes, through talking to them, but make sure that you can see that the relationship and the bond is recreated with your child. Something that has been very, very useful to me is to learn about my kids' behavior and learn about development of kids, because they go through phases, like the throwing phase, like the screaming phase, like the no phase. To me, it's always been beautiful to understand things better and realizing that I love them better. When you understand something, it makes it so much easier to love and accept it, because it's not about you. Ultimately, it's not about you. Your child is just exploring. They're like, oh, this is fun. Oh, especially with their curly hair. Look, when I pull, it comes back. Oh, that's awesome. I just want to do it again and again and again. Look at this big hoop. Oh, I want to pull on this and twist it and turn it around. This is awesome. This is not about you. This is about their exploration, and this is about their curiosity. And this is such an important thing to remember. This helps me a lot, at least, to understand why they're doing things, because then I can support them in their exploration, but redirect it. For example, if pulling is really hard on your hair, you can create a toy, a game that is going to repeat, that mimicates something similar so that they pull on it and they see the changing of size maybe, or they're gonna see what it does in space when they pull on this string, on that string. So it's really important to understand why they're going through this phase, because then you can redirect them towards still exploring that skill or that pattern, but in a way that is not destroying your hair, destroying your face, destroying your ears, destroying your body. And a book that I really love so far, I'm reading it right now, is called Reclaim Play, and I will link it in the description of this video. It's really helpful to me to learn about how kids develop and what they go through and what they need to explore their environment. So if you want to support yourself with this book is really nice. I will link it down below. And please remember this sentence. People will always set you up to feel the exact same way they feel. So if your kid is feeling powerless, they're going to unconsciously make you feel powerless so that you understand them. We do this with adults. We do this all of the time with each other, adults or kids. We unconsciously make sure that the other person feels the way we feel because we think it's going to make it easier for them to attune. Attunement is I see you deeply, I feel you, so I can help you by meeting your needs or by giving you attention or by giving you a hug. We all of us, unconsciously make other people feel the exact same way we are feeling. So if you take that sentence to practice, it means that when you feel triggered, powerless, like when the floor of the kitchen becomes the food graveyard, remember this. Maybe your child feels overwhelmed and powerless, maybe to choose what they want to eat, how much they want to eat. Maybe they don't know how to express to us that they are not hungry. Maybe they don't know how to express to us that they're concerned and they need this concern to be addressed first before they eat. So remember that your child is only trying to communicate with you the way they can, and they're always going to try to make you feel the way they feel, not even knowing it. So then it's much easier to support your child and yourself, because you know that if you feel angry, they are most likely feeling the same way. And then you can address that anger in them, and it's most likely going to help you as well. So I hope you got a lot from this video. It's a very important subject, I think, because it's so common as parents to be triggered every single day by our kids, and there's so many ways to deal with it. It's such a beautiful opportunity for us to grow, to learn about ourselves, and to help our kids develop without the wound that we received as kids. If you made it to the end, please leave me in the comments your biggest trigger and how you plan to address it. If you want my support to address it, you can ask for it. I will come in the comments and help you. And you can also book a free session with me. The link to do this is going to be in the description of this video, and we can talk face to face about those triggers and how to remedy them. If you enjoyed this video, I will really recommend you to watch this one, where I talk about how Ayurveda supports us to take care of our mind. As you've noticed, taking care of your triggers is a lot about emotional awareness and nervous system care, so this video is all about this. I'll meet you there or in a different video, and until next time, please stay radiant and nurtured. Bye bye.